Tom Aspinall's first defense of his heavyweight title ended in a no contest after a brutal double eye poke from Ciryl Gane. Now, more tests, a possible lengthy layoff, and whispers of suspension threatened to derail his reign before it began. Tonight we go inside the injury, the fallout, and why his future hangs by a blink. The lights of Abu Dhabi were still blazing when Tom Aspinall's championship defense collapsed into chaos. Round 1 against Ciryl Gane had been brisk but balanced, two heavyweights feeling each other out, fans leaning forward expecting the explosion. But just past the halfway mark, Gane extended his lead hand, his fingertips grazing both of Aspinall's eyes at once. The champion staggered backward, grimacing, clutching his face. The referee stopped the action. Seconds later, the worst words in MMA echoed, "He can't see." Aspinall's night was over. The doctor waved off the bout, ruling an accidental double eye poke and an official no contest. The crowd's cheers turned to murmurs, and inside the octagon, Gane raised his hands apologetically, visibly shaken. The commentary table fell silent. Nobody wanted to speak first. A fight meant to solidify Aspinall's reign had ended in a blur, literally. Minutes later, Aspinall was rushed to a nearby hospital. His right eye, the more affected, was visibly swollen and tearing. In his first YouTube post hours later, filmed backstage, he said quietly, "It's way scarier than my knee ever was." Fans had seen him recover from surgery before, but this was different. This wasn't a ligament, it was sight. The no contest left the belt technically his, but the victory meaningless. For the first time since he'd become champion, Tom Aspinall looked fragile, human, and afraid. Hours after leaving the arena, Aspinall posted a raw, unfiltered video on his YouTube channel, the same channel where he normally shared training camps and sparring footage. This one was different. No editing, no background music, just a handheld camera capturing pain and disbelief. "All that training for that," he muttered, voice cracking. What the fuckant was he doing? His father and longtime coach, Andy Aspinall, sat next to him, visibly shaken. "We were worried about knees and elbows," he said. "We never thought it would be the eye." The video showed doctors entering the room, shining lights into his pupils, checking for retinal detachment. Aspinall blinked rapidly, eyes watering. He said he could see only blurry shapes. The doctor told him to stop training until further evaluation in the UK. "You need to rest until fully cleared," the voice said off camera. Tom nodded, half defeated, half in denial. That YouTube upload, raw, unscripted, human, went viral overnight. Fans flooded the comments with support. Even fellow fighters like Leon Edwards and Darren Till left messages wishing him recovery. Viewers weren't just watching a champion's injury, they were watching him process it in real time. The clip turned what might have been a private moment into a shared one. In the digital age of fighting, transparency is currency. And Aspinall's pain became part of his brand. Within 48 hours, reports began circulating that Aspinall could face a medical suspension from the UFC, potentially as long as 6 months. According to Bloody Elbow and the Daily Mail, the promotion's doctors follow strict policy. Any fighter who suffers a serious eye injury must receive ophthalmologist clearance before competing again. The duration depends on whether vision returns to baseline. For Aspinall, who still reported light sensitivity and blurred vision in his YouTube update, that meant an uncertain countdown had begun. Historically, fighters like Jeremy Stephens and Michael Bisping received extended suspensions for similar injuries. The concern wasn't punishment, it was protection. Still, for a reigning champion, 6 months might as well be a lifetime. Momentum is currency in MMA. And every week inactive means fewer headlines, fewer opportunities. Sponsors stall, matchmakers move on, contenders circle. On camera, Aspinall tried to stay calm. "We'll get more tests when I'm back in the UK," he said, holding a towel over his eye. It's frustrating, but that's the sport. Yet behind the composure was tension. The division he'd just conquered was already shifting beneath him. The UFC wanted movement. Fans wanted closure. Broadcasters wanted ratings. But the man at the center of it all could barely open his right eye. Aspinall's championship reign wasn't over. But for the first time, it was on pause. For the UFC, Tom Aspinall's rise had been the perfect storm. Young, charismatic, and British. He was the man meant to carry the heavyweight division into a new era after John Jones's exit. But overnight, that story froze. The no contest didn't just end a fight, it broke the momentum of an entire marketing campaign. Sponsors paused ad spots, broadcasters lost their highlight reels, and ticket sales for potential rematches stalled. In a sport built on constant motion, inactivity is poison. Behind the scenes, matchmakers scrambled. Ciryl Gane, who'd looked sharp before the accident, couldn't claim a win, yet couldn't be ignored either. Sergey Pavlovich and Curtis Blades, both hungry contenders, began lobbying for interim opportunities. But Dana White made one thing clear during post-fight interviews: nobody wins tonight. Meanwhile, Aspinall's social channels became the face of the fallout. His YouTube post hit millions of views in a day, turning a medical emergency into a global talking point. It wasn't just fans watching. Sponsors, managers, even UFC executives tracked the video's engagement. His pain had become publicity, his vulnerability a new form of branding. The question was, how long could that narrative sustain interest before it turned into doubt? For the division, every day he couldn't train was another day without progress. For the UFC, it was a championship fight that couldn't be sold. The belt still belonged to Tom Aspinall, but for now, it was collecting dust. The most haunting line in Aspinall's YouTube update wasn't about the fight. It was when he looked into the camera and said quietly, "You don't know if it's going to come back." Those words pierced deeper than any headline could. This wasn't about rankings anymore. It was about sight, about control, about identity. For an athlete whose craft depends on precision, losing clarity even for a moment feels like losing purpose. His father and coach, Andy Aspinall, described the night as the scariest I've ever seen him. He'd guided Tom through every injury, torn ligaments, surgeries, setbacks. But this one hit different. "You can't rehab vision in a gym," he told reporters. "You just wait." Waiting is something fighters aren't built for. Behind the calm interviews, insiders say Aspinall struggled with frustration, pacing, replaying the moment in his head, wondering if the fight could have gone differently. His team tried to protect his mindset, but social media only magnified the anxiety. Every article, every replay of the poke was a reminder that his empire had paused. Yet, amid the fear, there was grace. In his final clip from the hospital, he thanked fans for messages and promised, "I'll be back stronger." No trash talk, no excuses, just the voice of a man learning to balance courage with caution. For a champion defined by explosive finishes, it was a rare, vulnerable pause, and it made people care even more. When Aspinall's YouTube video hit millions of views, it reignited one of the sport's oldest debates: eye pokes and the rules that fail to prevent them. Fighters like Michael Bisping, Bilal Muhammad, and Leon Edwards all joined the conversation, calling for curved finger gloves and stricter officiating. "We've been talking about this for 10 years, Bisping said on BT Sport. "How many more fighters have to get poked before something changes?" The issue, as Bisping and others explained, is design. Current UFC gloves encourage fighters to extend their fingers while gauging distance, making accidental contact inevitable. Aspinall's incident, broadcast worldwide, replayed millions of times, became the clearest proof yet. Even referees were criticized. Fans online noted that Gane had been warned for hand extension earlier in the round. On his channel, Aspinall mentioned it too. He got warned twice. That's what kills me. While no one accused Gane of intent, the frustration was real. The sense that the rules hadn't evolved as fast as the athletes. Medical experts joined the discussion, pointing out that vision injuries can cause long-term trauma even if initial scans show recovery. The suspension wasn't punishment, it was protection. But the optics of it, the champion sidelined by a design flaw, hurt the sport's image. Aspinall's pain had sparked a policy conversation, one bigger than his own career. What began as a freak accident had become the loudest call yet for reform. What started as a 45-second clip backstage quickly grew into one of the most viewed videos ever uploaded on Tom Aspinall's channel. Within 24 hours, the comments were flooded. Messages from fans, fellow fighters, even doctors offering advice. Leon Edwards commented, "Keep your head up, champ," while Michael Bisping reposted the video with a sobering caption, "Trust me, mate. Protect those eyes." That solidarity turned a tragedy into a global conversation. Yet social media is never one-sided. Some questioned whether Aspinall could have continued. Veteran fighters recalled competing with one functional eye and urged toughness. Others defended him fiercely. "You don't gamble with vision." That clash of opinions kept the video trending, pulling millions into the debate about bravery versus self-preservation. Aspinall himself didn't respond to the noise. That authenticity made the story stick. The UFC had created stars through knockouts. Aspinall was creating connection through honesty. In the algorithmic age of hype and highlight reels, vulnerability had become viral. As the days passed, medical updates replaced fight predictions. Aspinall flew home to the UK for full ophthalmologic testing. Early reports confirmed no retinal detachment, a relief, but swelling persisted, and doctors advised total rest. We're waiting on scans. No sparring, no contact. Fans could see the fatigue in his eyes, both literal and emotional. For the UFC, that waiting period is agony. Matchmakers can't plan without clearance. Broadcasters can't promote without a date. Each medical delay ripples across contracts and training camps. Rumors swirl of an interim title bout if Aspinall's suspension hits the 6-month mark, but nothing is confirmed. The champion himself remains detached from speculation. Right now, it's about healing, not headlines, he said, a line that resonated across the sport. The recovery journey has become serialized content. Short check-ins, physiotherapy clips, family moments. Instead of pay-per-views, fans now tune in for progress reports. It's unprecedented. A reigning UFC champion turning rehabilitation into an open-book saga. And with every upload, the tension builds. When will the comeback begin? And will he ever be the same? Today, Tom Aspinall stands at a crossroads. Officially, he's still the UFC heavyweight champion. Unofficially, he's a question mark. The belt sits at home in Manchester. Analysts say his next fight could define not just his reign, but his reputation. Return too early and risk permanent damage. Wait too long and lose relevance. That's the paradox every injured champion faces, but few face it so publicly. By sharing every step online, Aspinall has turned the most private battle in sports into a communal one. The potential 6-month suspension looms, and yet his calm persistence has already shifted perception. He's no longer just a knockout artist, he's a symbol of composure under uncertainty. If he comes back and wins, this chapter becomes legend. If he doesn't, it becomes a cautionary tale of how fragile greatness can be. Either way, his YouTube lens has ensured none of it will fade unseen.